Did you know there are popes mentioned in the Bible besides Saint Peter? This surprising revelation takes us on a fascinating journey through the early days of Christianity, where three extraordinary figures shaped the future of the Church forever. A story of faith, persecution, and miracles that has remained hidden from many for centuries. Chapter 1. The origin of the term Pope. When we talk about popes in Christian history, we are referring to an institution that began in surprisingly humble circumstances. The term Pope, which today carries such weight and authority, originally comes from the Greek word papas, an affectionate term meaning father, initially used by all Christian children to refer to any priest or bishop. In the first centuries of Christianity, the figure of the Bishop of Rome already stood out among other church leaders, but not in the way we know today. What many don't realize is that other significant Christian centers, such as Alexandria and Antioch, also referred to their bishops as papa, a practice that persisted in the East until the 6th century. The transformation of the Pope's role into that of the supreme leader of the Church occurred gradually amidst persecution, theological debates, and political challenges. During the Roman Empire, when Christianity was still illegal, the Bishop of Rome already exercised significant moral authority, often mediating disputes between different Christian communities. A fascinating fact is that the Roman catacombs, in addition to serving as burial sites, also functioned as administrative hubs for the early church. The first popes frequently held secret meetings in these underground labyrinths, hidden from the eyes of Roman persecutors. As Christianity expanded, the pope's role evolved to include increasingly complex responsibilities. In the 4th century, after Emperor Constantine's conversion, the Bishop of Rome began residing in the Lateran Palace, a shift that symbolized not only spiritual growth, but also political influence. Papal authority was solidified through crucial decisions during times of crisis. For example, during the great heresies of the early centuries, it was often the Bishop of Rome who had the final say on doctrinal matters, establishing a precedent that would shape the future of the Church. But how would this authority be established in practice? The answer lies with a simple fisherman from Galilee who was about to become the cornerstone of one of history's greatest institutions. Chapter 2. Saint Peter. The story of Saint Peter begins on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, where a simple fisherman named Simon was about to become the cornerstone of the greatest religious institution in history. Born in Bethsaida, the son of Jonah, he shared a modest life with his brother Andrew, unaware that his destiny would change drastically after an encounter by the lake. The moment that transformed Simon into Peter is one of the most dramatic in the New Testament. Amid a crowd, Jesus looks directly at him and declares, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." This was not merely a change of name, it was a prophecy that would echo through the centuries. Few people know that Peter was married and that his mother-in-law was healed by Jesus, a detail that humanizes this great leader. His home in Capernaum became one of the first centers of Christian preaching, a fact confirmed by modern excavations that revealed early Christian inscriptions. Peter's journey was marked by moments of extraordinary courage and human vulnerability. He was the only apostle who attempted to walk on water, demonstrating audacious faith even as he sank. This duality of strength and fragility would make him deeply relatable to millions of followers throughout history. One of the lesser-known aspects of Peter's ministry was his crucial mediation between the Jewish and Gentile factions of the early church. His vision in Joppa, involving clean and unclean animals, was not merely a personal revelation, but a decisive moment that opened Christianity to the non-Jewish world. During his final trip to Rome, Peter faced his destiny with remarkable humility. Condemned to crucifixion, he made an extraordinary request: to be crucified upside down. as he did not consider himself worthy to die in the same manner as his master. This final act of humility became one of the most powerful symbols of Christian devotion. Peter had laid the foundation, but the challenge was far from over. Who would have the courage to succeed him at a time when being a Christian almost certainly meant facing death? The answer would come from an unexpected source. Chapter 3. Saint Linus. From the shadows of ancient history emerges a fascinating and little-known figure, Saint Linus, the second pope of the Church and the first successor to Peter. In 2 Timothy 4:21, he is briefly mentioned, alongside Eubulus, Pudens, and Claudia, revealing his significance in the early Church. What makes Linus's story particularly intriguing is his background. Born in Tuscany to an Etruscan family, he was a Gentile who converted to Christianity through Saint Peter himself. His transition from pagan roots to becoming the leader of the Church demonstrates how Christianity transcended cultural barriers from its very inception. During his papacy, which lasted from 67 to 76 AD, Linus faced one of the most turbulent periods in Christian history. Persecution under Nero was at its peak, and Christians were systematically hunted in the streets of Rome. Despite this, Linus managed to keep the Church united and growing. One of Linus's most significant contributions, rarely mentioned in history books, was organizing the first clerical ordination system. He established protocols for the selection and training of new priests, creating a structure that allowed the Church to survive even in times of intense persecution. Among his most impactful decisions was the decree regarding the use of veils by women during liturgical celebrations based on St. Paul's teachings. This regulation, recorded in the Liber Pontificalis, illustrates how Linus sought to establish order and uniformity in the liturgical practices of the nascent Church. The death of Linus is shrouded in mystery. While he is venerated as a martyr, the exact details of his martyrdom remain unknown. His body was buried near St. Peter's tomb in the Vatican, a site that would become sacred to millions of pilgrims throughout history. With his death, Linus left behind a legacy of organization and structure for the Church. But the era of turmoil was far from over, and someone with extraordinary diplomatic skills would be needed to face the challenges ahead. It was time for a noble Roman to step into the scene. Chapter 4. Saint Clement. Among the early popes of the Church, Saint Clement emerges as a unique figure who directly connects the apostolic era to the post-apostolic age. Born in Rome around 35 AD, he came from a noble family, possibly connected to the imperial household, a detail that adds a fascinating layer to his story. What few know is that Clement, before his conversion, was a freedman of the household of Consul Titus Flavius Clemens, a relative of Emperor Domitian. This connection to Roman aristocracy provided the early Church with unprecedented access to some of the most influential circles of Roman society. In Philippians 4:3, St. Paul writes, "Yes, and I ask you, my true companion, help these women since they have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers whose names are in the book of life." This mention is not merely a casual reference. It is a testament to Clement's vital role as a bridge between the Jewish and Gentile worlds in the nascent Christian faith. His most celebrated work, the letter to the Corinthians, is considered one of the literary jewels of early Christianity. What makes this document even more remarkable is that it was written while the Apostle John was still alive in Ephesus, demonstrating the authority that Rome already wielded, even in the presence of an original apostle. During his exile in Crimea, Clement performed an extraordinary feat that is rarely mentioned. According to ancient traditions, he discovered a water source to aid fellow Christians condemned to the marble mines. Some historians consider this event to be the origin of the papal blessings with water. Clement's martyrdom was particularly dramatic. He was cast into the Black Sea with an iron anchor tied around his neck. Yet, the most astonishing detail is that, according to ancient accounts, the sea receded 3 kilometers, revealing an angelic temple constructed to house his remains, a story that inspired countless works of art throughout the centuries. The story of these 3 popes, Peter, Linus, and Clemont, is not just a historical record, but a living testimony to the resilience of the Church in its earliest years. Their lives show us how faith can transcend persecution, challenges, and even death, establishing a legacy that endures to this day. If you wish to deepen your understanding of church history and its first leaders, I invite you to become a member of our channel. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to bonus content and the opportunity to help choose our future themes. Click the Join button below this video and become part of this community dedicated to exploring our faith more deeply.